So if you've been leveling a rogue in Season of Discovery, you might be struggling. But the good news is we end up in a great spot at 25, and I have some things that might help you out. I tried out all the leveling builds multiple times, which was a big waste of time and money for me, but hopefully good information for you. Remember to subscribe because everybody forgets, and let's get into it. So first of all, I highly recommend the Rested XP add-on. You can use the free version until level 22, and then if you want to buy the SoD specific guides, you can with code KIPSO. Once you have that, you're looking to get to level 3 and then get the Shadow Strike rune. You can also wait to do it at level 5 whenever you usually kill the mobs for the quest, but let's be real, nobody's going to be that patient. You can just get it at level 3. Shadow Strike is pretty nice. It's only 20 energy, does a good bit of damage, and it's going to let you jump right on the mob. But after that, it's just the same vanilla rogue Sinister Striking, and so a lot of people get hungry to try out the new runes, and that's where they go wrong. You can get a lot of other runes in the starting zone, but almost none of them are actually worth getting, and I'll explain why. I'm not going to tell you exactly where you get them, because it depends on which race you are, so you can just look it up on Wowhead. You get quick draw from pickpocketing map parts, and between the eyes from opening a chest with a key. This is annoying because you can't pickpocket stuff that you Shadow Strike to. Also, both of these abilities require a ranged weapon, so a bow, gun, or crossbow to use. You cannot use them with thrown weapons. This isn't just annoying because you don't have any of those, it's also annoying because you have to spend 10 silver to train the skill to use any of those. And you have to go to the major city required for that skill. Quick draw does pretty good damage considering it only costs 25 energy. Between the eyes is basically kidney shot that does damage, but the base damage on the ability is very low, lower than Eviscerate, especially once you get Eviscerate rank 2. These abilities are still kinda good to use if you go through the trouble of getting all the things required, but only because they're ranged attacks, which means they can't be dodged, blocked, or parried. And mobs stunned with Between the Eyes can't dodge, block, or parry while they're stunned. You can also get Mutilate pretty early, but this is another one that can't be used right away. It requires 2 daggers, so you need to be at least level 10 for dual wield, and at level 10, it just does 100% weapon damage with both weapons plus 9. Compare that to Backstab rank 2 that you get at level 12, and it's 150 weapon damage with your main hand dagger plus 30 base damage. That 30 base damage will probably be more than an entire Mutilate. And speaking of Backstab, you also get Slaughter from the Shadows early, which makes Backstab pretty great, but because you have to be behind the target, it's really impractical for leveling. I really enjoyed this style of gouging into Backstab, building up combo points and pooling for a Between the Eyes stun, and then getting 2 Backstabs in during it, but it was a ton of work, and it's just worse than using Sinister Strike. Also much harder to find good daggers while leveling compared to swords or maces. So overall, if all you care about is leveling super fast in the starter zone, just skip everything except for Shadow Strike and go get them later if you want them. And for talents, I usually recommend the standard 2 out of 2 Remorseless attacks and Assassination, and then going the normal combat build, but for whatever reason, I think it's a bug, Saber Slash doesn't actually proc Remorseless attacks right now. So unless you're running quick draw and you really like pulling with it, it's just not that great. And you might not want to pull with quick draw because after level 14, you can do stealth opens with Garrote, which is extremely good. Garrote has really high base damage, so anytime that you just trained a new rank of it, it's really good, but only if you're actually getting it off fast and not taking 20 seconds to stealth up to every mob. Overall, just do the normal combat build, 2 out of 2 improve Sinister Strike, build to 5, and then eviscerate the target down. After level 10, you'll be able to find Blade Dance and Saber Slash. You can go grab Blade Dance, which lasts a whole 30 seconds at 5 combo points, which should be like 2 mobs, and the increased parry will give you a higher chance to proc Riposte, but it's mostly for fun because you have these giant swords like the retaliation animation around you, and killing mobs faster is just way better, which is what we're going to talk about next. And that is Saber Slash. Boy, this ability is godlike, dude. You would think since a huge amount of the ability is the 130% weapon damage on it, it would run into the same problem as Mutilate, where that doesn't actually equal that much damage because our weapons suck at low level, but the base damage from the bleed on it is actually crazy, and it outclasses Sinister Strike from the weapon damage anyway. This thing is just going to let you melt through mobs. The dot ticks every 2 seconds, so you can easily avoid losing ticks by just adding a stack when the time remaining on the debuff is an even number, because that means it just did a bleed tick right as it got to that number. Even without min-maxing the bleed ticks, this ability is just outright better than any other build. You may or may not need lockpicking to get it, which is at level 16, but I would just go for it as fast as you can. You'll go from struggling to just gliding through mobs. In the late teens, you'll be looking to do some dungeons, and if you can find a solid dagger, it can be a good idea to go grab Slaughter from Shadows and spam Backstab, which isn't actually higher damage overall, it's just the trash dies so quickly that it'll end up being more burst damage, but on anything that lives for a significant amount of time, Saber Slash will still beat it out. If you want a more well-rounded build for any spec that you want to try and just have fun, you can run this. Basically just normal combat daggers. Investing more points into precision makes it more flexible and better for dungeons than Riposte. Having Imp Backstab makes it so you can do Mutilate or Slaughter from Shadows build. But if you want to crank it to level 25 as soon as possible and then try out those other runes, then just go for the usual Deflection, Riposte, Precision. Specking is extremely cheap, so feel free to mess around, but buying good daggers or swords all the time will easily drain your bank account if you're going to swap builds every 2 levels. Once you're finally level 20, I recommend doing the Poison Quest as soon as possible. When you're normally speed leveling a rogue in vanilla, it can be faster to just outright skip it, but you may have already invested time from leveling lockpicking for Saber Slash. And as Horde, you want to do this as soon as possible while other rogues are still doing it because you need help executing Gallywix from half health. As Alliance, you could wait until 25, but the quest is way easier. And the poisons are actually much better this time around. They deal like double damage because they scale with your attack power from the Deadly Brew rune now. So I would just say go for it. I made a guide on how to get the Deadly Brew rune that you should definitely check out, but just know that you don't actually need to go to Stone Talon now. You can just open the gate normally and then die or vanish. But after you get Deadly Brune and Venom, the Saber Slash build goes from like 85% power to 100% power. This build was so good, it didn't really compare to anything else. It's kind of what I suspected would happen based on what we knew from BlizzCon. It's great to do dungeons around level 20 because the gear and possible weapons that you can get could easily be what you're bringing into BFD. You're looking for stuff like Meteor Shard, Wing Blade, and Cruel Barb. You're probably not going to be that relevant in big AoE pulls, so just focus on kicking casters. Post level 20, you might see some PvP in zones like the Windshear Crag and Stone Talon, or Wetlands, or Red Ridge. But since all you can really do is run up to people and spam Saber Slash, it's a good idea to just keep your head down until level 25 where you could respec, unless if it's a totally free kill. I would not only recommend dungeons because they're fun and you get good gear, but also because it saves your quests. After you're level 25, doing quests will give significantly more gold because it's converting the XP that you would have gained into gold. It's also good to just save them up for the next phase. The other runes that are left aren't really that necessary to get, but feel free to go get them post level 25 if you want. They are Shiv, Main Gouge, and Just a Flesh Wound. These runes are very out of the way and specific to tanking or PvP, so most rogues probably aren't going to bother getting these unless if they want them for some reason. And after you're 25, you're going to want to respec this raid build if you're going to go into BFD. Trust me, it is very good and you could easily be the top DPS with it, but it depends on what else is in your group, like some kind of exploiting hunter. But we scale really well. You just want really long single target fights, which are in the BFD raid where you can build to 5 with Saber Slash and then Rupture. Assuming you have a Feral Druid putting Mangle on the target, which hopefully you do, that way you get Wind Fury. I might make a BFD raid guide for rogues, so subscribe if you want to see that. And I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I tried to do a little longer video, but feel free to ask me anything in the comments that I left out or join my Discord. And see you guys at level 25.